Iran. You hear that name all the time in the news, right? It always seems to be at the center of some global flashpoint. But here's the thing. Behind all those headlines, there's this incredibly ancient civilization, a major power trying to find its way in a super complex modern world. So let's get into it. So that's the big question we're going to tackle here. How did this ancient civilization end up right in the middle of so many modern fights? We're going to unpack the whole thing, the history, the geography, the strategy, all the stuff that put Iran at this, well, critical crossroads. We'll dig into what Iran really wants and why what they do could shake up everything, from the price you pay for gas to whether or not we see a massive war in the Middle East. Yeah, this story, it really matters to all of us. Okay, so to really get Iran, you gotta start with the land itself. It's like a giant fortress. Picture this. It's a huge plateau, but it's walled off by these massive mountain ranges. The Zagros to the west, the Alborz up north. And the inside, a lot of it is just vast, tough desert. And then, down south, it sits on the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that's one of the most important shipping lanes in the entire world. So for thousands of years, this geography has made Iran two things: a natural bridge connecting continents, but also a powerful gatekeeper who controls the flow. That's some serious leverage. All right, first stop, history. Because you can't understand what Iran wants today without looking way, way back. There's this incredibly strong feeling in Iran, this sense that they come from a glorious past and absolutely deserve to be a major player on the world stage. And this isn't just about politics today, you know? It's like a memory baked into their DNA, stretching back thousands of years. I mean, just look at this number. 50 million. At its absolute peak, the Persian Empire was home to 50 million people. Now, that might not sound like a ton by today's standards, but back then, that was almost half of every single person on Earth. Let that sink in. We're talking about a true global superpower. So this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. It creates this powerful national identity, this memory of being at the center of the world. And that feeling, it's still very much alive today. Okay, let's jump forward in time. We're heading to the 20th century. This is where that ancient, powerful identity slams right into modern global politics. It's the moment the modern Iran we know is born. And, well, it's also where the roots of its decades-long fight with the West were planted. This timeline right here, it's absolutely crucial to understanding everything that came next. So check this out. In 51, you have this democratically elected leader, Mossadegh. He does something huge. He nationalizes Iran's oil, basically taking it back from the British. But just 2 years later, boom, a coup planned by the CIA and British intelligence kicks him out and puts the pro-Western Shah back in power. That one event left this deep, deep scar, a massive sense of betrayal. And all that anger and mistrust just simmered until it exploded in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution. The Shah's out, and the new regime immediately shows its cards when students take over the US Embassy, holding Americans hostage for, 444 days. That sealed the deal. And this quote from the revolution's leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, man, it just says it all. Our victory will dawn when the hands of the foreigners are severed from our country. That's it. That is the core ideology in a nutshell. It's this fiery, absolute demand for independence and a total rejection of outside influence, especially from America. The chant, "Death to America," wasn't just words. It became a core part of their entire government. So if that's your worldview, how do you defend yourself? How do you make sure that never happens again? Well, Iran came up with a very specific strategy, and it was born out of something incredibly traumatic, the Iran-Iraq War. That was a brutal 8-year-long slog that taught Tehran one lesson they would never forget. We cannot let a war like that happen on our land ever again. And that's where this idea of forward defense comes from. It's really simple, right? The main goal is to survive. So instead of sitting back and waiting for someone to attack you, you push the fight away from you. Iran started building this whole network of partners and proxy groups all over the Middle East. Think of them like a buffer zone. Their job is to keep enemies like the US and Israel busy and far away. So any fight happens over there, not in Iran. And this network has a name: the Axis of Resistance. It's a really diverse bunch. You've got Hezbollah and Lebanon. They're often called the crown jewel of the whole operation. Super powerful and closely tied to Iran. But you also have groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the Palestinian territories, the Houthis there in Yemen, and a bunch of other armed groups in places like Syria and Iraq.
Now, the relationships are all different. Some are super tight, others are more like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But they all fit into that big picture for defense strategy. Now, a really smart part of the strategy from Iran's perspective is what we call plausible deniability. Look, Iran gives these groups money, weapons, training, for sure. But these aren't just puppets on a string. They have their own goals, their own leaders. This setup lets Tehran keep its hands clean, or at least a little bit cleaner. A perfect example is the October 7th attacks. Most Western intelligence says, yeah, Iran helped build up Hamas for years, but they didn't pick up the phone and order that specific attack. That little bit of distance is crucial for them. It gives them options and helps them dodge a direct hit in return. So this whole complex strategy, this whole network, it's all pointed at two main rivals. The Great Satan, that's what they call the United States, and the Little Satan, Israel. I mean, for more than 40 years, this showdown has been the single biggest driver of Iran's foreign policy, period. And it's not hard to see why this conflict is so stuck, why it just goes on and on. You just have to look at what each side wants. America's list is pretty clear. No nuclear program for Iran and cut it out with the ballistic missiles. But Iran's goals are, you could say, more existential. Number one, make sure the regime survives. And number two, get the US military out of the region for good. You can see it, right? Those two lists they don't work together. They're polar opposites.
And if you're sitting in Tehran, you don't just see the US trying to box you in. You see them trying to build a whole new Middle East with your number one enemy, Israel, right at the center. There's a term for this, Pax Israelica, which means an Israeli peace. The plan, as Iran sees it, is to use things like the Abraham Accords to build a big anti-Iran club led by Israel. And for Tehran, that's not just a problem, that is a threat to their very existence, something they feel they have to fight with everything they've got. But here's where things get really interesting and frankly really dangerous. Because very recently, that whole forward defense strategy we've been talking about, it's been hit hard. I mean, we're talking a series of body blows that have completely shaken the ground under Tehran's feet. Their whole playbook is suddenly in crisis. I mean, look at how fast this all happened. It was like a domino effect. First, you have Israel's military operation in Lebanon, which really hammered Hezbollah, Iran's strongest partner. Then, and this was a real shocker, the Assad regime in Syria, which was Iran's only real state-level ally in the Arab world, just collapsed, almost overnight. And with that, the land bridge that Iran used to send supplies to Hezbollah was just gone. The logistical backbone of their whole network snapped. Just like that, in a few short months, the main pillars of their strategy were just rubble. So what do you do when your whole plan falls apart? Well, you don't panic, you adapt. And that's what we're seeing from Tehran now. They're calling it a strategic recalibration. Basically, instead of pushing harder on the conflict front, they're pivoting to diplomacy. They're talking to their neighbors, even countries they don't get along with, trying to lower the temperature and make sure they don't end up totally alone. It's a smart move, really, a practical shift because, well, they don't have much of a choice. And this quote right here, it nails the fundamental problem. From Iran's point of view, everything they do, the proxy network, the missile program, it's all defense. It's a shield to stop them from being attacked. But everyone else in the neighborhood looks at that exact same stuff and sees something totally different. They see an offensive threat. They see aggression. It's like two people looking at the same picture and seeing completely different things. And that gap in perception, that's what makes this whole situation so hard to solve. Which brings us to the biggest question of all, a really critical one. Now that its forward defense strategy is in shambles and its ability to push back conventionally is weaker, what does Iran do? Do they look at the board and decide that the only surefire way to guarantee their survival, which has always been their number one goal, is to go for the ultimate insurance policy, a nuclear weapon? The answer to that question, well, it's going to define the future of the Middle East, and maybe a lot more.